sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
It is hotter than the devil's asshole up in here. What's going on? Oh, hey, sinners and saints, how you doing? I hope you're feeling well, you're feeling sexy. I hope you're horny if you want to be. I obviously am burning up. I don't know why I just said that without realizing we were recording, but you know what? Fuck it. We'll leave it in. How y'all doing? Great, I hope. It is still pretty warm here in good old Tennessee, and I'm okay with that, but even at my level of tolerance of hot weather, it's being tested at this time. I can't believe we've had such a long stretch of really hot weather. Not used to it being around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty rough, I'm telling you. And there's not enough naked men running around to make me appreciate it.
Yeehaw.
Although, now that college is back in session, I do get the pleasure of seeing a lot of fine young men walking along the streets in the perfect length of shorts that they can wear. It's nice to see that short shorts are starting to make a bit of a comeback. They should have never been out, in my opinion, especially if you know how to wear them. Granted, not every man that's wearing shorts is someone that I want to see. I have almost gone blind with a couple of them, especially if their sagging balls are hanging out the bottom of them. Not that that really happens much, because you'd probably get arrested for flashing your potatoes.
Balls are not a toy.
And it really is something, taking a walk around campus or around the apartments where a lot of students are renting or leasing, and just seeing how different it is now compared to when I was in school. Yeah, we all dabbled in a little bit of weed, but you can walk along the Riverwalk and the apartment buildings that are right next to the walk. The college students are smoking their weed, and it wafts through their windows, and you can get a little high just walking by. And I was just like, that's just so brazenly open, and I love it. I think it's great. I don't think the police would even bother trying to figure out exactly which apartment it was coming from. Are they hurting anybody? No. But we would have been a little bit more cautious with our smoking. Thankfully, we have gummies and brownies and such now, and those are a lot more convenient as far as covering up the smell. Still quite enjoyable, you know? I guess I consider myself very lucky that I've been a witness to the evolution of our country, our society, watching technology evolve and change virtually everything. Business is so dynamic now with a computer's capability. It totally revolutionized how the world conducts business. And look at banking. Banking could not be as global as it is without technology, without computers. It has been fascinating watching a computer that is big as a house become a computer that you can slip into your pocket. I would have never thought that phones would become such a vital part of our culture. They can also be a very annoying, irritating part of our culture. I still am flabbergasted sometimes when I go to happy hour and John and I are talking, and there'll be 20 other guys at the bar, and almost all of them looking down at their phones instead of engaging in conversation. Some of them, and you know who I'm talking about, boys, are actually on the hookup apps while they're at the bar. And I still long for those days when you hooked up with somebody that you met at a bar or at the club. Those times were so much fun. The anticipation, the thrill of the chase, the disappointment when you get rejected 37 times in one night. But sometimes I guess I feel a little whiny because the end is coming. You know, we're all going to die. And I keep thinking about what we'll miss on this planet. Now, granted, it could turn even worse and be a horrible place for all of us. But I still have hope that we will continue to evolve and change to a more positive, better world, a better society, a better culture, not dividing us because of certain orange turds that are just trying to wreak havoc for their own gains. As an older guy who is single and just happens to be gay, I do feel a desire to try to keep up with the times, not become an old fuddy-duddy who can't change and adapt to a different world. But it's not easy, and especially in gay society in particular, it's hard just to grow old gracefully. I've said it 1,000 times on this podcast that it feels like in the gay community, when you turn 30, you should just be put out to pasture and die. And of course, that's not true. And it's me being super sensitive to getting old, almost worried too much about not fitting in with other people, especially people that are younger. But I also believe, and I've had my younger friends tell me, that I don't come off as somebody who's old, a fuddy-duddy, a grouchy old man. But you just never know for sure. Like we were talking about at happy hour just last week, how we used to party all night long. Sometimes getting home on a work night at 4 a.m., laying down for an hour and a half, getting up and going to work and doing it all over again the next night. Now, if I make it to 10 o'clock out at a bar, I feel like I've accomplished something. Shocking, I know. It really is. In thinking about that, sometimes you have to rock your own boat, so to speak, I think. I don't know if it's because we want to think of ourselves as still a person who can be appealing to someone who's young, or is it the fear of us just being old and dying, which I'm sure that we all have dread of that, not necessarily fear. God, that sounded so random, didn't it? I'm just like jabberwalking, aren't I? Well, a confession here. Part of my effort to connect and stay connected with younger people, I've always colored my beard. That might come as a shock to some of you. You might have thought that my hair color was the natural color. Well, it's not.
I'm sorry, what?
No.
Several of my friends have said, why don't you just let your hair just go natural and see what it looks like? And I've decided to do that, knowing that it's going to be gray. So far, I've been getting compliments about how it looks. It looks almost like salt and pepper, if you know what I mean. So that's okay. But if it was to turn fully gray, fully white, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. I do believe that people look at you differently. I think people treat you differently based on that. Even though we all know men who are in their 20s and 30s who, for some reason, turn gray. And they're absolutely beautiful. But for me, this is going to be a challenge. We'll see if I can maintain it. I'm going to keep the hair this color for another week or two and see what the reaction is. If I perceive that people are treating me as an older person rather than a younger person, I'm going to color it back again. I cannot deal with that. Yes, that's my own hang up, but guess what? It is my face. It is my beard. It is my life, and I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. I think this is just a simple experiment that I can undertake just to see people's reactions. And I really do want to know. I really do want to know how I'll be treated without my normal ginger color beard. I can see some of you rolling your eyes at me already, and I understand that because the way I'm talking, I'm sounding like a total hypocrite, where I've said many times I don't give a rat's ass what people think about me. And I'm going to try to explain the difference here. You can say bad things about me all day long, every day, and I don't care about it. I don't want to feel people's pity when it comes to perceiving that I am an older person. Maybe I am reading too much into this whole situation, but that's the cynical part of me. I believe people are petty. I think people are so caught up in stereotypical assumptions about, well, virtually everything, not just about someone who could be old, but everything you can think of about people who are ugly, people who are pretty, people who have a disability, people who are poor, who are rich, who are criminals. We have all kinds of perceptions. And for me, I don't care about all those, but I am bothered if somebody were to be like, oh, this poor old man, look at him. That sort of pisses me off. And yes, I know, again, that's an assumption, but every time I think that people can be better, do better, behave better, they always disappoint me. So it's easier to go into this whole experiment with doubts about how people will treat me. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Some people are making me feel better about it. I mean, people coming up to me and friends telling me that it looks so much better. That's great. But if I get any hint that people look at me and go, oh my God, he's so old, he might need to be helped across the street. Well, if it was Henry Cavill offering, yeah, I'd probably allow that. I guess I could become the newest sugar daddy, right? Based on the appearance alone. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll become one of those big muscle daddies, that have the gray hair and everything, and they look so fucking hot. Who knows? Stay tuned, sinners and saints, and I'll let you know how it goes. But of course, before I get ahead of myself, I can always count on my really good friends to absolutely kick me in the teeth every time. For example, at happy hour last night, I was talking about it, the hair, and my worries about getting older, and how I was afraid that the gray hair would make me, feel this way, feel like I'm being pitied. And Timothea, you know who you are. I can always count on you. You said, point blank, you should worry more about those crow's feet on the sides of your eyes getting ready to take over your whole face, more than the color of your beard. You need to Botox that shit. Oh, okay, that's good to know. And if you remember, I was having that crisis about my ass losing all of its suppleness. I can always count on Chadwick to help me in that area. I got a new pair of pants that I thought would help accentuate back there. And so we were walking into the club, and I was in front of him, and I asked him, how does my ass look in these jeans? And he says, like you left it in the car. Yeah, thanks, Chadwick. I'll never get over that one. If I'm being honest, this is feeling like a midlife crisis, isn't it? I have a sneaky suspicion this all stems from that quick hookup I had with the younger guy who kept calling me daddy. And I really didn't enjoy that part. I enjoyed him. I didn't enjoy the daddy part. And I think maybe that really got under my skin. I think he really pushed a button that I didn't want pushed, but I mean, he was very innocently calling me that. He was really into it. And I guess I am, in a lot of ways, a father figure for a lot of people, which, that makes me want to just vomit. But I think that might have been the trigger to me feeling this way and being hesitant. But I remember years ago, Madonna in an interview, when they had asked her about her haircut, she had changed her hairstyle, and she said, it's good for you. It's good for you to change things up. It's good for your head not to get locked up into one single image. You want to explore and be different sometimes, and you can always change it back if you don't like it. I think that's what I'm trying to do here. I am just trying to, in my own way, experiment with my appearance in a way that is easily changeable. I'm definitely not going the way of that guy who wanted to be the Ken doll, who did so many plastic surgeries that his nose was about to fall off. I know. That sounded judgmental. And there I go right there. I'm feeling almost sorry for him, being so consumed with his image. I'm actually reflecting myself in that because I express sympathy and confusion and bewilderment towards someone with that kind of obsession, I just figure that there'll be people who will do the same thing to me, even if it's just something as simple as the color of my beard. But that's how superficial we are now, aren't we? We really are. I mean, for God's sake, if you can't get somebody to use a turn signal when they make a turn, you'd think they wouldn't hesitate to be insulting to you based on the color of your beard? Of course they would. People. Jesus. Speaking of which, I think it was Thursday night, I decided to go out for a couple of drinks at my favorite place. And this guy comes in. I mean, it's pretty busy. This guy comes in and he sits down on the far side. And we've talked about it before. You know, sometimes people will give you a vibe, and sometimes it's not a positive vibe. And this one, I was sort of in the middle when he came in and sat down. I could tell he wasn't very comfortable, and he was asking the bartender a few questions that I couldn't hear, and people started coming in, and they were sitting around him and everything. And just out of the blue, he pointed to me, and he spoke loud, and he said, "I think you and I have the same barber." Oh, well, ha ha ha. Yeah, so funny. That's nice. And he was just trying to make conversation with somebody that I guess he thought he could connect with. We did a little back and forth, and he hollered out his name, and I said mine back, and I can't tell you what it was. I can't remember for the life of me. We'll call him Jack, I think. Oh, let me remind everybody that the names were changed to protect the guilty, the innocent, and the satisfied. The more you know. So finally he gets up and he comes around, and I can tell he's making his way around to my side of the bar where I'm sitting. And he comes up right beside me and he says, is it okay for me to talk to you? I mean, I do feel like we have some sort of connection because of our shaved heads. And I'm like, sure, that's fine, you know. And he's trying to chat, and I'm actually, I'll have to be honest, a little buzzed. We had done a couple of shots of Jaeger, and I was feeling no pain. And he was chatting this weird kind of very generic way. And I finally, just to break that ice, I just said, "Are you gay?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm not gay. No, I'm straight." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's cool." I said, "This is poker night here, so you're here to play poker." He goes, "God, no, I don't play poker and stuff." I'm like, "Oh, well, just here to have a good time and have conversation with people." He says, "Well, I was actually hoping to see a show." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sure the bartender told you that they don't do drag shows on Thursday nights. You'd have to come out on a Friday or Saturday, and I believe Monday nights they have them. And I think they might have them on occasion on Sundays." He goes, "Oh, there's no shows tonight." I'm like, "Nope, there's not." He goes, "Well, I guess I'm wasting my time here, aren't I?" I'm like, "No, if you're wanting to chat and talk to people and stuff, this is a great place to do it." He goes, "No, I was just hoping to see a show." I'm like, "Okay then." And he walked away from me, and he went back over to the other side and sat down again next to these people he was sitting by before. And he started asking them the same questions about a show. He actually thought I was lying to him, apparently. And finally, he was satisfied with enough people telling him there was no show on Thursday nights. He came back around and patted me on the shoulder and says, "Well, it was nice talking to you, and have a good night." And I'm like, "Okay, great." I felt very uncomfortable at that point. So my eyes followed him out the front door. And I did get up and walk to the front door and look out just to see that he was getting in his car and he was leaving. He gave me such a bad vibe at the end of that whole thing for whatever reason. But isn't it interesting that he thought that we would have a connection because we both had shaved heads? I mean, I guess it's possible, right? I mean, it's something we have in common, so I guess you assume that would be something you could talk about, even though it depends. I shaved my head out of choice. I don't know if he shaved his head out of choice or not. So there is a little bit of a difference there. But geez Louise, did I think this episode was going to turn this way and become a subject regarding bald men? I could quote Dorothy Spornak, couldn't I? It's okay, Blanche. The pilot has turned off the no ball men sign. Thank you once again for joining me for Alan After Dark. I hope you've had a good time. I have, sort of. It'll be better next week, I promise. Remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon. Stop Project 2025.